After watching a historical movie, you might think to yourself, the old days are much better than the present era. Like this couple, you may want to live in the Victorian era once in your life. So today, take you back to the Victorian era and guide you from the side. What are the problems or what you need to do to survive in Victorian London? Before I start, if you are new to the channel and love history, definitely subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Thank you. The Victorian era began in 1837 and ended with Queen Victoria's death in 1901. During this time, Britain's industrial power rose along with some strange things. In one word, surviving in Victorian London was challenging but possible with some tips. To survive the Victorian era, finding the right house is key. In Victorian cities, industrial areas were full of factories that polluted the air with soot and smoke. Living nearby would expose you to unhealthy air and bad living conditions. If you can afford it, countryside areas or newer, cleaner suburbs were healthier places. These spots had fresher air and less pollution. Cities were rapidly growing, so not all areas had safe water. Look for places with access to clean water wells or newer plumbing systems to avoid diseases like cholera. Victorian homes often had big windows, which could help bring in fresh air. Is vital for keeping away bad airs, which people then believed spread diseases. Try for a home with the air vents or windows that open in different rooms. This can keep the air fresh, especially if you are near smoky or polluted areas. You will need reliable heating, as Victorian winters could be cold, and insulation wasn't as good as today. Look for homes with fireplaces in main rooms to keep warm during winter. Now you have a nice house. The next thing, you need a job. To survive in the Victorian era, finding a job would be crucial, especially since there was no modern safety net like social security. Domestic servant. This job was one of the most common for people without specialized skills. It involved working in a wealthy family's household, performing tasks like cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the family. Look for servant wanted signs in the wealthier neighborhoods, or talk to people in your community who might have connections to big households. If you are a good worker and can follow directions well, you might get hired. Or you can be the factory workers. With the Industrial Revolution, factories needed a lot of workers. Jobs included working on machines, assembling parts, or moving materials around. Conditions were tough, long hours, low pay, and dangerous machines. Then factories often posted job openings on notice boards. So look around factories or visit workhouses where jobs might be advertised. Be prepared for physically demanding work in noisy, sometimes unsafe environment. Or if you have a small amount of money to buy goods, you can start selling on busy streets. Or you might work under someone else as a vendor if you can afford the goods upfront. Or you can be coal miner. Coal mining was essential to power factories, trains, and home. Miners faced dangerous conditions, but pay was often better than other labor jobs. Mining companies would usually advertise for laborers, especially in mining towns. Visit these places or ask around for work, but be cautious as this job is very hazardous. Work was tough, pay was low, and conditions were harsh. However, with persistence and the willingness to do demanding jobs, you would be able to earn enough to get by in the Victorian era. Now, when you get the job done, it's time for stay cleaning and healthy. Washing your hands and face regularly helps keep germs away, especially after handling anything dirty or visiting crowded areas. If possible, bathe at least once a week. Bathing was considered a luxury then, but it was one of the best ways to stay clean. Use soap when you can, as it removes dirt and germs. Victorians used toothbrushes and baking soda or charcoal powder to clean their teeth. Try to brush at least once daily. Water in the Victorian era was often contaminated and could carry diseases. Boiling water killed many germs, making it safer to drink. Street food wasn't always made with the best hygiene, so it could make you sick. If you can eat food prepared at home or by trusted people, open windows to be let fresh air in. Many houses had poor ventilation, which could make it illnesses spread faster. Dust and paste could cause diseases, so sweep the floor and shake out bed linens as much as you can. Some Victorian fashions were tight, which could cause circulation problems and even fainting. Try to dress comfortably. Many people spend hours indoors, but fresh air and sunlight were good for health. Go for walks outside when you can. As long as the area is clean, even small injuries could get infected due to lack of hygiene. Clean wounds with clean water. Cover them with a clean cloth and try to change it daily. And the last one, some Victorian remedies were harmful, like mercury or arsenic-based treatments. Stick to basic remedies like rest drinking boiled water and using simple, clean bandages for wounds. Now, when you're done with that, when you go out to work, you need to take some extra precautions, like Victorian streets could be dark and poorly lit, especially at night. Street lamps were still a luxury, and gas lighting was inconsistent. Stick to well-lit and busy areas to reduce the chances of being targeted by pickpockets or worse. Flashy jewelry, coins, or fancy clothes could attract thieves, as poverty was widespread, and criminals often targeted wealthy-looking individuals. Dress modestly and keep valuables hidden to avoid drawing attention. Walking alone, especially at night, wasn't wise. Criminal gangs and highwaymen could target solitary travelers. If you need to go out, try to bring a friend or stick to groups where possible. Read local newspapers or talk to townfolk to learn about dangerous areas and current crime trends. Certain neighborhoods were notorious for robberies and gangs, so avoid those areas if possible. Some people carry small legal weapons like canes, umbrellas, or paper dust to protect them. This could help you fend off attackers if you found yourself in a dangerous situation. Now that you have lived so carefully, you want a little entertainment. Surviving and staying entertained in the Victorian era would mean embracing some popular pastimes and finding ways to enjoy life without modern technology. Reading was hugely popular because books, newspapers, and magazines were widely available. Novels by Charles Dickens, Jane Austen were considered entertaining. Many Victorians loved reading because it was a window into different worlds. Board games like chess, checkers, and card games were popular ways to pass the time, especially with friends or family. For a solo activity, you might try puzzles like jigsaw puzzles or brain teasers. People love keeping gardens and growing flowers or vegetables. Gardening wasn't just work, it was also a hobby and a way to relax outdoors. Playing an instrument, singing, or even dancing was very common. If you could play the piano or sing, you would be popular at gatherings. Families would sometimes hold small music performances at home where everyone would take turns performing. If you had the chance, visiting the theatre was a top choice. Plays, magic shows, and even circuses were exciting and could offer you an escape from daily life. Since there was no email, people wrote letters to communicate with friends and family. Letter writing was like an art form, and it was common to keep in touch with the way over long distances. If you like learning, you could spend time with a small science experiment or a cabinet of curiosities filled with interesting items like shells, fossils, or plants. Now, probably you feel hungry. Bread was a staple for most people, especially in lower classes. The wealthy had finer white bread, while poorer folks ate brown or rye bread. The main meal was in the afternoon. The rich had several courses like soup, fish, roast meat, and dessert. The working class had simpler meals like stew, meat pies, or bread with cheese. Foodborne illnesses were common. Cooking meat will help reduce disease risk. Victorians had strict etiquette. Use utensils correctly, keep elbows off the table, and eat slowly. Cleanliness was important, especially for upper classes, so wash your hands and keep yourself tidy at meals. Traveling in the Victorian era could be both thrilling and dangerous. Trains were becoming more common and could get you to big cities quickly. However, railway accidents were common, so check the track conditions and train schedule. Avoid riding at night if you can. Horses are useful but costly to maintain. If you walk, stay alert, especially near towns with narrow streets and alleyways. Clean food and water were hard to come by, so pack your own if possible. Food sold along travel routes could be spoiled or unhygienic. Learn some common Victorian phrases, as speaking formally would help you blend in better with polite society. Different areas had unique customs, and locals could be suspicious of travelers. Dress modestly, speak politely, and avoid arguing with strangers. And obviously, stay away from prostitutes. Living alone as a woman in the Victorian era was risky, so staying with family or in housing, especially for women, was safer. This way, you are surrounded by people who can vouch for your character and keep you from being in dangerous situations. Victorian society relied heavily on social circles and connections. Being associated with respectable people protected your reputation. Attending church and engaging in community activities were ways to stay connected to good influences. Victorian women was discouraged from being out alone, especially at night, and certain parts of cities were known for vice and criminal activity. Try to avoid wandering alone in poorly lit, less reputable areas. Learn skills that could help you gain employment like needlework, cooking or teaching, and consider taking basic readings and writing lessons if possible. Many Victorian women earn living as governesses, teachers or maids. But if you ask me, the current era is much better. While the Victorian era had its achievements like the Industrial Revolution and cultural developments, the modern era offers advancements that improve quality of life, promote equality, and foster global connections. Overall, these improvements make many aspects of life in the modern era better than the Victorian era. So far today, don't forget to tell us how you felt. What do you think about Victorian era? I really want to know. Let me know in the comments what era you want to survive next. Thanks a lot for watching the full video. See you in the next video. Stay well.